Hey yo, this is T.O.T. Thank you for dropping in today, if you have. So there's definitely been a crash out in regards to Honkai Star Rail, and this crash out has mainly stemmed from uninformed players. And I'm going to give a little bit more context behind what I mean with that here shortly. So Castorice has a global passive. Basically, if she's not in the team or on the team and a character was to take a fatal hit, she will automatically revive them. And then they have a small amount of time to get shielded or healed before they are permanently KO'd. I am not bothered by this whatsoever because they've already done something of this kind of nature in Honkai Impact 3rd. So in Honkai Impact 3rd, we have a lot of passive stat increases. So this could be offensive or defensive increases. So the way that they would have this set up in the past before Dorm went through an overhaul, for example, is let's say I pulled Crashout of Thunder back then. Back then, Crashout of Thunder would provide a 5% lightning damage buff. If I got her to SS rank, it would have become 7%. And this would have applied to my account in general, regardless if I was using Crashout of Thunder at that active time or not. Now, later on, they updated Dorm and they changed it to where now it's just a totality combination instead of breaking it down by individual elements. So that was kind of like the miniature overhaul that they did for it. You would primarily get these increases by obtaining various S rank characters. So that's how you increase the level of your Dorm for the most part. But that's not all. We also had divine keys and stellar keys. Now, each one of these keys and each one of these Dorm buffs on a one-to-one basis won't really make that big of a difference for an account as far as power wise, but as a collective it does add a decent amount of power to the overall account. So a lot of these divine keys or stellar keys would provide an account of global plus 10 attack. All right, and what would happen is as you're collecting these keys, they're going to give your overall account more and more attack, especially if there was synergy syncs and things along those lines. Now these divine keys and stellar keys were mainly gacha locked, so you would need to spend crystals and or real money to obtain them. But the point I'm trying to make here is for years has had passive stat gains that apply to the entirety of the count, regardless if you're using the character and or the weapon. This is just how it's been in Honkai Impact 3rd. So I think there's only two reasons why Castorice has the passive that she has in Honkai Star Rail. Either A, miHoYo was planning on doing this anyways because they've already done things of this nature in Honkai Impact 3rd, or B, they were originally probably not intending on doing this, but maybe they got enough feedback from various people and given the sentiment that character XYZ is underpowered, they're weak, why won't you buff them, why won't you fix them, etc, etc, etc. And so in scenario B, if miHoYo did take that feedback seriously, they probably came to the conclusion of, you know what, let's just start giving certain characters a global passive or some kind of passive that's account wide. So that way, even if this character starts underperforming years down the line from a numbers perspective, that passive will still continue to have usage for that person's account. They've taken a similar philosophy with Honkai Impact 3rd when it got to the point that certain divine keys and certain characters were no longer usable. The passives that they provided, even if it's a little tiny bit, would still apply to the entirety of the account. I hope for the individuals who are having a crash out over this, they will take this as a life lesson learned. Rather we talk about with gaming companies or companies in real life, I think it is a good ideal for an individual to inform themselves of the history of a company before getting too invested. Let me give you an outside example. Let's say a company releases a new game, right? And a consumer has put their foot down and they said, I will not purchase a game for $70+ and pay for microtransactions on top of that. So game comes out, has no microtransactions. The consumer, they look up the reviews are giving a thumbs up saying that it's a pretty solid game. Consumer goes out, buys the game. A few weeks later, what the company ends up doing is they slide in a microtransaction shop into the game. So now the consumer is feeling very burned about this. They felt like they got bait and switched. There's a duality of fault here. There is fault from the company because they knew that if they put out a product and there wasn't microtransactions in it at first, they knew that they would get better reviews. They automatically knew this. But it's also the consumer's fault for putting faith in a company that hasn't earned it, when historically this company has put microtransactions in a mass majority of their releases in more recent times. So the TLDR here is if a company has made certain decisions in the past that are a turnoff to you as a consumer, they will more than likely do that decision making in other games as well. For the individuals who have given the sentiment and said that this is just the beginning, things will be worse later on, they're probably correct. There will probably be more impacting things in the future. For example, I would not be surprised if the Honkai Star Rail version of Elysia ends up providing an account-wide plus 5% true damage buff, for example. I would not be surprised. Is this going to ruin the combat of the game? From an enjoyment level, for some people, yes, it will. But do I think it's going to break the game? On an individual basis, probably not. As a collective, I think it will probably make an impact, but I do not think that it will supersede having the right character, having the right build, and putting them in the right party. This has always been the case with Honkai Impact 3rd as well. Yes, all of these passives and stat stats, they do help. They make a difference in the performance. But at the end of the day, what matters the most is having the right character, the right gear, and putting them in the right team for the right situation. Those things have always taken precedence over anything global that was an account-based thing. So that's really where my mindset is at with this. If you have taken out the time to watch this or listen to this, just want to say thank you for your time. You be safe out there. Deuces.